We didn't have as much. It's supposed to be more of the same. The first thing you'll notice is a significantly increased engine. Quite a few new items. There's a new dinosaur to ride that does a sonic spin attack, a jewel that can let you take an extra hit. So it's not perfect all the way. It's here as far as I can tell, but it doesn't make sense. Beginning of the world you're currently on. And later, you'll probably get to a point where you'll keep dying near the end of a world. If you get to a point where you can't handle it anymore, the Game Boy version, called Adventure Island 2 Aliens in Paradise, may be your best option. It's essentially the same game, however, there's a password system, so you won't have to finish it in one sitting. And even if you get a game over, you'll start right at the same stage you were on. Also, you can freely navigate the world map and replay any level you've already finished, allowing you to easily stock up on items. This Game Boy version is definitely my personal favorite of the 8-bit Adventure Island games. I never find myself rage quitting or finding it too easy to the point of getting bored. It achieves a perfect balance of difficulty, unlike any of the console games. On top of being easier to play, it'll also be easier on your wallet should you care enough to seek out original carts, because the NES version is weirdly expensive, which I assume is because it came out after the SNES was released, so there aren't as many copies out there since evidently not as many people were playing NES games. It is nice that companies still release games on the aging hardware for a few years, but Hudson would have to move up to 16-bit platforms if they wanted continued success. And it didn't take long for them to bring the heroic Higgins to the Super Nintendo. Super Adventure Island from Hudson Soft, available on Super NES. Show to our spring sale across the stores. Out with the old, in with the Italian touch of Poltrone sofa. Weirdly enough, Super Adventure Island was actually released a few months before Adventure Island 3. It was done by a different development team, so it's not like the team was congested or anything, but all the same, this 16-bit adventure is a far cry from its 8-bit contemporaries. Rather than evolve from the NES sequels, a step has been taken back, and the game is more akin to the first Adventure Island in terms of structure. No inventory, no dinosaur friends, and not even a world map. There isn't even a run button in this game. You just move at one set speed. The biggest change in gameplay, however, is the weapon system. There's only two weapons in the game, the tomahawk and the boomerang. But here you have to collect them sequentially to be able to fire more of them at once, and when you collect a fourth one, it'll be fully powered up, which makes short work of enemies and bosses. The overall challenge of Super Adventure Island is also a far cry from previous entries. The game itself is significantly shorter than all the others, and while it certainly has challenging moments here and there, once you've played through it once, it becomes a relatively mellow experience. You could easily finish this game in less than an hour. I've probably painted a picture of this game being nothing special in the grand scheme of things, but I have to say that, honestly, this may be my favorite game in the entire series. I've played this particular game multiple times, and it's always fun if I just want to wind down after a hard day's work. However, the most defining aspect of this game is the music. The game has an incredible soundtrack composed by the legendary Yuzo Koshiro. There's not a single dull track here out of all of them. My personal favorite is the second world theme. everlasting summer. Unfortunately, though, if you're good at the game, you won't get too much of it. Done right. Although it might have been a disappointment to some in 1992, I'd say today it's a special game to have in your Super Nintendo collection. However, if you desire something with a little more meat to the bone, a sequel. I'm afraid we already talked about that game. This is actually Super Adventure Island 2, which is only related to the first in name, as this game is a complete departure from the formula we've come to expect. Instead of traditional Wonder Boy gameplay, we're presented with an open-ended adventure game akin to Metroid or, ironically, Weststone's later games. You travel on a makeshift raft across an overworld to different islands, finding items, better equipment, and fighting bosses. There are also random battles you'll encounter that remind me of Zelda 2, but ultimately they feel like pointless nuisances. In fact, a decent portion of the game feels bloated due to an excessive amount of backtracking you'll have to do, and if you want the best equipment, you basically have no choice but to spam these casino games that are available during the later half of the game, which is frankly time consuming and annoying. However, that equipment is not dead at all. The graphics also got a bit decent, as you know, and in a way they're pretty impressive as they actually resemble the cover art illustrated by Suzumu Matsushita, although I personally prefer the art style for the previous game. Unfortunately, the music didn't improve much. Don't get me wrong, it's fine, but it's certainly nothing memorable. Honestly, they really dropped the ball by not bringing Yuzo Koshiro back. Ultimately, while I wouldn't say it's nearly as good as Monster World 4, which came out the same year, Super Adventure Island 2, despite its flaws, is still worth playing, especially if you're a fan of this style of game. For a while, this would be the final game in the series, but wouldn't you know it, the Super Nintendo wasn't the only 16-bit console graced with Adventure Island, as Hudson also brought out a game for the PC Engine called Adventure Island. Well, to be frank, Adventure Island on the PC Engine has nothing to do with the Adventure Island series. Ah, but it actually does. If you can't tell, it's a reskin of Wonder Boy the Dragon's Trap from the Sega Master System, and it's a good port, but again, other than being a Wonder Boy reskin, it's got nothing to do with Adventure Island, so I have no idea what Hudson was thinking when they named this game. Fortunately, the name was changed to Dragon's Curse for the TurboGrafx version. That's all I have to say about that, really. PC Engine would later get an actual Adventure Island game called New Adventure Island, but as was the case with Super Adventure Island, what's old is new again, as it's stripped of almost everything from the later NES games, which is even more odd to me in this case, as it was developed by the same studio as those NES sequels. That doesn't mean it isn't fun though. If you were put off by how slow Super was, then you'll be happy to know that at least the speed games is retained here. To me, the highlight is certainly the graphics. Higgins has some really expressive sprites, and there's no shortage of color here. This is easily one of the best looking games I've ever played on the console. It still has moments of trademark difficulty, but unlike the NES titles, it doesn't overstay its welcome. Yeah. While I'm still inclined to prefer Super Adventure Island a little more just because of the music, still turns out being one of the best platformers on the PC engine. So that basically would just about cover every series that was released worldwide. However, Japan would get one last hurrah for the series on the Famicom in the form of Adventure Island 4, which was also the Famicom's final officially released game. Released the same year as Super Adventure Island 2, 4 also is a major departure from the typical formula of the series, being another more open-ended adventure game revolving around exploring the environment to find items and defeat all the bosses. The dinosaur also made a return. I think Hudson must have had a strict mandate that they could only be in 15. I think what I appreciate the most about this game in particular is that Higgins always has a weapon on him, so you never have to worry about being unarmed when you die. Otherwise, though, I'm not a fan of how most of the items you get are only used for very specific situations and then never seen again. Also, some of the minigames that are required to play can switch up sometimes for seemingly no reason. It's overall not a bad game, however, it definitely seems like it was a rushed budget title, which is ironic given how much value an original Famicom cartridge commands. But yeah, it's certainly not worth anything more than emulating it or playing it on a flash cart with an English patched ROM. That would be the last the world would hear of Adventure Island for almost a decade, skipping the 32 and 64-bit generation entirely. But in 2003, the series would finally make a return on the GameCube and PS2, but only in Japan, as a part of the Hudson Selection series of budget titles that were remakes of iconic Hudson Soft games, and is essentially first Adventure Island, playing that iconic Hudson Soft pistol from the 2000 the series was part of the the enemies look soulless, and the animations on Higgins just don't look good at all. The controls also lack the precision and finesse that the original all had. You're doing yourself no disservice in this game entirely. Yeah, with that, but it's certainly doesn't feel like the game now 6 years later. It makes the reimagining the original anymore. But somehow I think we'll be able to live in a world without this. Prior to the Konami buyout. That's such an iconic series from the 8-bit era. I went into this video asking myself why nobody really talked about this series anymore, and now I kind of see why. It's slowly evolving into something pretty ambitious, but for whatever reason, you just keep rehashing that first game over and over again. So it needs to be and not be understated. I don't think many people at the time saw that game for what it truly was, a legally distinct clone of Wonder Boy. Played the role of series remakes and served, but Tommy can bring love of God match of the first this is still classic. The final
Now I'm gonna go to do some weight. I did not have a no.
Listen up because external hard drives. They massive 16 terabyte capacity.
危机解除，人情齐爽，别解散，还剩一名敌人。上子弹，那
我在上弹。
上子弹，
制造掩体，还得偷看。又不来。
别挡我的路！多名敌人在 B，带上小心注意。上子弹，
你看现在很苦，来我这。
上子弹，爆能器已部署。
火炮3丈，装备链请到中级炮。
发现敌人，带上子弹。有一名敌人。
决斗。
打着这个。
不错。
看中了吗？守方获胜。
很多人。
发现敌人。
上子弹。
我找到你了。
消灭目标。就交给你了，小伙计。
最后一人，我找到你了。攻方获胜。这些都留着。前面后方。换子弹。小心此处，发现敌人。 发现敌人，开始了！这使命还没结束。
喂，
还剩1名敌人。守方获胜。上半场我方赢家，我方进攻。
热打铁。
开始。最后一人，最后一人，守方获胜。
前往兵器。枪子弹。
名将生成。
交给你了，开宝。
最后一人，守方获胜。轻松，我们能赢。
来吧，走起！
爆能全部输。还剩1名敌人。 小心攻方获胜。多名敌人在中。爆能器已部署。
糟糕！
结束了。你的死命还没结束。我的大消息。还用不了。
集中。击退。我在上弹。
攻方获胜。
But SpongeBob offers to do it. Clean Bubble sees the dirt, gets tempted, dives in, turning back into Dirty Bubble. He starts causing SpongeBob quickly sprays him with water.
匹配成功。我方进攻。梅斯耐心有限，带上子弹。他用光了这2样，就轮到我们行动。带上子弹。带上子弹。带上子弹。带上子弹。在哪里？一起偷看就有敌人。投放烟雾。
来都来了，有种别走！
带上子弹。爆能器已部署。带上子弹。带上子弹。最后一人。
I didn't think we need violence anymore. Oh, and my phone just crashed. My phone keeps